Welcome back to Indie Ball Nation. How many times we just like drop some plans and then I'm like, and hiatus from posting? There's reasons for it. Some are discussable. Mostly the fact that I rolled out a whole content plan not long ago and then I immediately stopped having fun doing that content plan. I realized, why am I doing this? What are we doing? We're in it for a good time here. So, yeah, stop doing that and focused on my actual job for a minute. Gross. Then just went to a bunch of playoff games, saw a bunch of York and some Lancaster baseball, a little bit of Charleston baseball there at the end. That was fun. Atlantic League East Coast bias. Sorry. And now I'm here, and we're trying something different because the off-season's here. I'm going to be trying to drop some quicker, more casual videos because just doing game recaps turns out isn't fun. Watching ball, talking ball, that's good, but we're just like reciting what happened when it's covering 50 teams. Less fun. Hey, Ryan, don't be dumb. So, just going to try not being dumb. We'll see how that goes for me. Beyond that, first video in this sort of new era is a new era. I got to stop calling them like new eras. I'm not Taylor Swift, despite my efforts. And despite countless era changes, it's becoming more of an error change than an era change at this point, but that's fine. Whatever, man. We're covering indie ball out here, dude. We're out here for the vibes. Not just Rocky Mountain, by the way. So, yeah. Here's my game plan for this one. And for the offseason, we're going to be doing some fun stuff. I've already started some of it, thank God, because I need to start. I at least banked some recordings while I was hanging out, not posting stuff. So, not that dumb. Maybe I am. But the plan for this, we'll say, this little episode. Oh, it's an episode. It's always an episode. Let's go with, this is something different and something I'm hoping to do all of next year. This will be the final, or at least the precursor to the final top 10 of the year. If you have been following along on other social media platforms of mine, this is not even a social media platform. This is either on podcast platform or YouTube, which I refuse to give credit as a platform, but you can follow all of my platforms. My platforms. Good Lord, Ryan. What are we doing? You can follow everything in Indie Ball Nation. But if you've been following along, you know that Nick from Indie Ball Report and I, who I co-host Indie Ball Report with, we do a top 10 ranking every week. Our final ranking of the regular season was a few weeks ago. This will be our final ranking of the year now that all Indie Ball seasons are completed. So I thought it would be fun if I kind of walked you through my ranking, and then I will combine it with Nick's, and I'll kind of put this out as a companion piece to the top 10 that I post on Instagram and Twitter. Because even now I kind of do a top 10 video real quick on Reels. You know, it's 90 seconds. I can't really justify. Sometimes there's some things, especially at the end of the year after some playoff series that, you know, people are like, why this team over that one? They might even just beat that team. Well, it gives us an opportunity to chat about. Or for you to say, yeah, I hear you now and I still disagree. You're very dumb. I get that. That's fine. I get that a lot, frankly. So that's okay. So we'll roll through this. I want to actually go through, so I'd say a little known fact. I don't know if it's a little known fact. I don't know what is known about my completely ass backwards processes. Every week when I do my top 10, I actually rank every team according to just whatever I'm feeling, man. For the most part, I take an analytical approach. I like, if you're acquainted with college hockey, I kind of have a similar vibe on that. It's sort of a head-to-head approach, which obviously has limitations based on, you know, league equivalencies, but it's basically taking into account, you know, how good teams are, how they would do head-to-head against one another, and just kind of do that for 50 teams, and then see who kind of works out as the best team based on that, and then work down. Hope that was convoluted for you. And we will go over what I've got here because I like to actually roll you through for this last week, a little special treat, going through and maybe I'll do this next year. I have no idea. We'll see how this is received. Probably not well. Algorithm hates me. Algorithm's like, bro, post more than twice a day or twice a month. I'd love to post twice a day. We'll see about all that. I work in social media too. I know better. I'm just negligent. That's why I vibe well in a clubhouse. Anyway, we'll do it this way. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go league by league, and I'll give you my full ranking of each league, stopping short with top 10 teams, and then we'll go through my final top 10 of the year, and we'll see. I'd like to also go through Nick's top 10. I'll probably do that live, what Nick submits me as his top 10, and I will just without him having the benefit of being able to defend himself, just probably roast him. Just because he gets to play on his platform and I'm on the podcast. This is mine now. This is my house, and literally, and I am going to roast him probably, but that's okay. We'll start. Let's see what league. Let's pull random. What are we thinking here? What are we thinking? What are we doing? We'll go with American Association first, okay? So we'll work backwards. Again, we got 50 teams. I rank 50. I rank American Association, Atlantic League, Frontier League, and Pioneer. And my bottom team in the American Association, could it be a surprise? It's Gary. Sorry, Gary. Gary South Shore Railcats. They are the only American Association team in my bottom 10 of the 50. I have them ranked 46th out of 50. It's just brutal. It's just a brutal year. I'm not going to talk about each team. I'll roll through these, but like you have to comment on that one. Beyond that, the number 11 team in the 12-team American Association is Lincoln. Then I got the Sioux City Explorers at number 10. The Kansas City Monarchs falling off down to 9. The Milwaukee Milkmen at number 8. The Fargo Moorhead Redhawks are my 7 team in the American Association. And Lake Country is my 6th team, and I will stop it there for the time being. We will circle back, however, to the remaining 5 teams in that league. But that is my top 6 through 12 ranking, I guess we'll call it, for the American Association. And since I want to keep saying Atlantic League, we will just go right to the Atlantic League and rip that off like a Band-Aid, huh? 10 teams. My number 10 team is Hagerstown. They are the only Atlantic League team in the bottom 10 for the Atlantic League. And boy, did they earn it. I mean, they just found ways to lose constantly in impressive fashion. And there's a sizable gap until Lexington, who honestly, I'd push Lexington all the way up at least to the high ends of the 30s. I had them ranked 32nd overall, 9th in my ranking of the Atlantic League. Then Southern Maryland at number 8, Staten Island at number 7, and Long Island at number 6. What happened, Long Island? And that's what we're going to say. We're going to stop there at the bottom half, all right? I'm going to take a sip. Beverage and the finely branded Stanley, which is how you know I work in the corporate world. Long Island Ducks is still kind of shocking to see in the bottom half of the Atlantic League, but I think they were heading in the right direction there toward the end. I think we're going to watch a lot of Ducks winning again soon. I have a haunting feeling of some familiar things from that Lou Ford-led team. Frontier League, I guess. Yeah, we'll go Frontier League. Why not? Yeah, Frontier League. 16 teams. My number 16 is Sussex County. My number 15 is New Jersey. They're the only 2 teams that I have ranked in the bottom 10 overall. I got New Jersey ranked at 41st and Sussex at 44 out of the 50. Yikes. Evansville narrowly escaped, and so did New England. Honestly, 38, 39, and 40 teams also just outside the bottom 10. Joliet, New England, and Evansville. So if we're recapping here, I got at 16 in the Frontier League, I got Sussex County. At 15, I got New Jersey. 14, I got the Evansville Otters. 13, I have the New England Knockouts. At 12, Joliet Slammers. At 11, now I have the Florence Yawls. At 10, the Windy City Thunderbolts, who really put some things together there at the end. Interesting to watch that come together. Picking up momentum there for Windy City. It's good to see. They've been struggling for years. So let's try to get something going there, Thunderbolts. Trois-Rivières, I got them at number 9, just outside the top half of the league. At number 8, I've got Schaumburg. At number 7, I have the Newark Boulders. At 6, the Lake Erie Crushers. At 5, Tri-City Valley Cats. Nice late season push from them. At number 4, I have the Ottawa Titans, and that is where I will stop. I will leave it just outside the top 3 for the Frontier League here. Finally, let's talk Pioneer League. We will go through all of the Pioneer League, actually. Spoiler alert. At number 12, I got Great Falls. I'll go this way for you. I got 12 Great Falls, 11 Grand Junction, 10 the Idaho Falls Chuckers, at 9 the Ogden Raptors, and those 4 are my bottom 4 overall out of the 50 teams, with that being Great Falls at 50, Grand Junction at 49, Idaho Falls at 48, Ogden at 47. Yikes. Pioneer League, we'll talk about this. Outside, I also have 2 additional teams in my overall bottom 10. At number 8, I have the Rocky Mountain Vibes, and at 7, the Billings Mustangs. They're both Rocky Mountains 45th overall for me. 42nd overall would be Billings. And then I will just proceed from there. In the top half of this league, I got Glacier at number 6, despite the championship appearance. They were just really bad in the second half. And frankly, they didn't look overly impressive against YOLO either. Boise at number 5, Northern Colorado at my number 4 Pioneer League team, which is less of a statement on them, more a statement on the rest of the league, if you vibe with me. Number 3, the Oakland Ballers. Number 2, the Missoula Paddleheads. And number 1, your champion, the YOLO High Wheelers, are my number 1 team in the Pioneer League to end 2024. No Pioneer League teams in the top half, which is interesting, as we have had in the past. I've never had a Pioneer League team in my top 10 at the end of a week. However, we have had teams threaten before. Glacier threatened a little bit this year. Missoula has threatened over the course of the last 2 years. Missoula, based on the roster restrictions that the Pioneer League, based on the restrictions they work with roster-wise, I just never expect them to ever really be in a top 10 position unless they are doing something really spectacular. And even then, you're going to hesitate and wonder if it's because of the league that they're playing, the competition rather. It's tough. It's a tough situation. However, to not have a team in the top 25 of the 50 is kind of stunning. I think really what happened here is the Pioneer League on the whole, I think the quality of play has gone up. We're seeing less of those crazy Pioneer League games we became accustomed to, like 20 to 18, 25 to 22, things like that. It was not nearly as crazy. Had a lot more regular games. I think some of that is moving some teams in that are not in the mountains. Helpful. However, I think a lot of it too is talent level is starting to balance out as guys are not getting drafted. You're starting to see guys get out of college, pass their COVID year, and get into the league, age into the league in a way where they were just so short on pitching for so long. And even the hitting was suspect a lot, but it was just they're beating up on that pitching. I think the talent level is genuinely up. I think it's a much better baseball product. However, with that, I do think there's perhaps a lack. I think Missoula came close to the top 10 a lot more because maybe they had an over-concentration of the limited resources that were available. Now the resources are a little more even, and all the teams are kind of... I always go back to Big East basketball, which is quite a reach here. But I always feel like the Big East teams, after their long Big East tournament and beating each other up in a very physical basketball league all year long, once they get to the tournament, you tend to see some teams flame out early because there's not much left there. If you need to make a Big East tournament run, like a long one, and then make a tournament run in March Madness, it's a little bit like, hey, that's going to be a struggle. I think we're dealing with a little bit of that with YOLO, Missoula, and Oakland kind of being the solid top 3 of this league, but all of them kind of chipping away at each other. Missoula really falling off toward the end didn't help. So that's that. I don't want this to reflect super poorly on the Pioneer League. If there's a takeaway, it's individual teams might not be standing out right now. However, the product is quite good. I think it's really on its way. I think the Pioneer League could be in the league equivalency scales I do every year, which is basically putting every team on a 1 to 100 scale, every league rather, so that you can compare it talent-wise, the teams, players, projections, things like that. I suspect the last time I ran the numbers, the Atlantic League was moving up slightly. The American Association and Frontier League were moving down slightly. In fact, the Frontier League was taking a noticeable step down in the league equivalencies. However, the Pioneer League, I believe, will be taking a slight step up. So that's good as what you want to see, because the Pioneer League was teetering on the edge. I know some teams have been struggling, so putting together some good competition is good. Now, we have the top 10 to deal with. Before we fully step into the top 10, I have some honorable mentions here, and that will be the Sioux Falls Canaries, the Gateway Grizzlies, and the Chicago Dogs. I believe in the American Association, the Chicago Dogs are my number 5 team. The Sioux Falls Canaries are my number 4, and Gateway is my number 3 Frontier League team. All of them considered it. They just didn't show me enough when they had the opportunity. All of them had opportunities to beat quality top 10 teams toward the end and just didn't. That was it. They were teetering on the edge of top 10. They didn't get there. They'd all been top 10 teams at certain points of the year. They just didn't finish strong that way. So that's how that goes, at least in my eyes. Again, the official top 10 will be released when we get next stuff here. We'll go over it, as I said. But let's look at my personal top 10 here. Number 10, this could be controversial, Charleston Dirty Birds. They're so good when they're good, but they're so average to bad even. It's crazy. A bad Dirty Birds game, like we saw in Game 2 of the Championship Series, is bad. It's hard to watch. So I wish I could say I was surprised by how that season ended, but that offense, I'm not. But that offense still deserves so much respect. And the pitching, we saw it with David LeBron going into the 9th inning with a shutout in that last game against York's offense. there's moments of pitching that are just stellar. It's the best pitching staff that we've seen them put together. PJ Phillips is putting together great pitching staffs. He's done it in Jersey now. He rebuilt and did one in Charleston now. Impressive. Dangerous next year if he's back there. I would keep an eye on that. However, the offense is the standout. I think we can agree. At number 9, I have the Cleveland Railroaders. Could honestly say the same exact thing I just did for Charleston. I don't want to repeat myself, but basically the same thing. Run it back. Like, offense is great. Pitching is spotty. Offense will go cold now and again. Not surprised how their season ended. Going to number 8, I have the King County Cougars. They were ranked 10th in the last 4 polls of the regular season. I can see the messages already. 7-0 undefeated playoff run. I know. But a hot week and a half can't overpower 4 months of play that strongly. I think about it this way. Take it out of the playoffs. If it is a team, they're number 10, they win 7 in a row. They've been number 10 for a month. They win 7 in a row, yes, against good competition. Would you bump them and be like, they must be a top 3 team? No. You could argue top 5. I have them at number 8, and that's more of a commentary on the other teams around them. You're going to get more mad. If you're mad, you're going to get more mad because I also have Quebec at number 7. I know yeah. But Quebec, they had so many bad teams in their division. If you just look at the Frontier League and the number of bad teams they had, Jersey, Sussex, New England, all of them in Quebec's division. That's nearly half a division, right? That just, it felt like that's part of why they were able to kind of cruise into the playoffs. They were able to set pitching. They perform well. They're already built for playoffs. They're a very good team. There's nothing else I can say. They're fantastic. The repeats speak for themselves. I just don't think this was the best version of them. And additionally, I think there were a lot of good teams we're going to talk about here in the Atlantic League, as well as a couple more in the American Association that are better. That's where I'm at. Frankly, they weren't even the best team in the Frontier League. I said the thing, and we're going to talk about it. You're going to be mad again. You're going to be mad all over again. I know. I'm sorry. I don't like me either. Does that help? Let's go number 6 here. The Lancaster Barnstormers. Second half Stormers remain something horrifying. Lancaster Barnstormers. I call them the Barnstormers again. Hate me again. It's fine. The Lancaster Stormers. Sorry. It's in my brain, dude. I know. I've known... It's not like the Lancaster is more than a team that I just got into when I started covering indie ball and fell in love with it. They're local to me. I've seen Barnstormers for years, so I have more to unlearn. So chill. That said, second half Stormers are a problem. But I hate to be this guy. It's kind of along the lines of Quebec. They only had one good, really good opponent in their division. Long Island was inconsistent, couldn't figure it out till the very end of the year, it seemed like. Hagerstown was a bottom 10 team, as I said. Southern Maryland, no, they're in the South now. Staten Island. Well, Staten Island. They tried. It looked good for a third of the year, and then it fell off. Lancaster, they really only had one quality team in that division, and that was York, and they went 4-19 against York. Ugh. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, credit for making it to the Atlantic League playoffs. That is automatically going to push you pretty much in the top 10. However, Stephen A., you can't put you in the top 5. It's just not that. It just ain't that. Winnipeg, number 5. Solid pitching staff, but their offense struggled to find consistency. It eventually bit them. I'm not going to harp on it. It's the same thing we talked about all year. We're like, wow, that Winnipeg pitching is good. Wow, they're wasting a lot of great games on the mound because the offense would just be touch and go. Unfortunate. They should be better. Hopefully they can retain a lot of that talent for next year and make a run again. I think Winnipeg being good is really good for both the American Association and indie ball as a whole, and for the sport of baseball as a whole. Sidebar, Quebec, Ottawa, Winnipeg all being nasty is great for baseball. Having Canadian powerhouses playing ball at any level is sick, and getting fan support, awesome. Love that. 100% on board. I would love to get up to Canada next year. We'll see if I can take the road trip. To number 4, I got the High Point Rockers. Really good pitching that once again got hosed by the two-half system. Should have been in the playoffs. Didn't make it. Likely the best, most complete pitching staff in all of indie ball. I think that is a hot take, but it shouldn't be. If you look at the numbers, they were so good. They just did it really quietly, and they were dealing with the absolute horror show that was Gastonia. I just think High Point, if you look at it, they're really good. A top 10 offense in all of indie ball. I will say, personally, it's the best pitching staff I saw this year. Unfortunately, screwed by the playoff system. Not the first time that's happened. And yeah, the Atlantic League's 2-half system will continue to screw good teams, but that's how we do things. Speaking of a team that didn't, I guess, get screwed by the 2-half system, sure, Gastonia. Like Washington, who we're about to talk about, one series just does not change my feelings on them. They were not playing with their full deck of cards at the end of the season. The sustained success over the past several years and the continued growth of this team, they're so good. They're so dangerous. Charleston did beat them, but it was a handful for Charleston to deal with. Gastonia, man, they're number 3 for me. They're so good. That's that on that. Number 2, I still have Washington. I know, well above Quebec. That's crazy, but hey, one series will not determine how I feel about this team. A top 3 offense in the Frontier League, a top 3 pitching staff in all of Indy ball. They were very good. It got to be them, High Point, and Winnipeg in my eyes. Very good work. I think they probably were the best team in the Frontier League. I really do feel that way. And just didn't work out in the end. Dude, Quebec is dangerous, man. That's what they're going to do to you. And finally, York, for obvious reasons, number 1. Really impressed throughout these playoffs. Didn't get to see them take on Gastonia, but I saw enough. Well-constructed lineup. Number 1 offense for me in all of Indy ball. A top 10 pitching staff in all of Indy ball. Just so good. I mean, a relentless offense. They hurt you when you make mistakes. They're on top of you constantly. They're running. They're playing good defense. Really strong up the middle. Underrated how good they are up the middle defensively. And all those guys can also hit the ball. If they can bring back this team again next year, I don't see a way that they're not the early favorite to win a championship again. That's my top 10. I'm going to do a quick double check here to see if I have rankings in from Nick. I don't believe I do. I do not. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause this, and I'm going to check right back in when this is complete on his end, and then we'll see what this top 10 ends up looking like, okay? Sounds good. All right, later. All right, just got Nick's top 10. Let's take a look here. We'll go from, I guess, best to worst. He has York at number 1, just like I did. No surprise there. Also, no surprise, he has Gastonia a spot higher than I do. He has Gastonia number 2. I have them at 3, but again, top 3 for Gastonia, despite the first round exit, feels right. He then has Charleston at 3. For the reasons discussed, I'm not as high on Charleston, but sure, okay, that's fine. Yeah, he's not going to be happy about putting Charleston 10th, but that's going to be how it's going to be. He goes Lancaster at number 4, a little high for me. I wasn't as impressed, but I can see it. Very Atlantic League heavy to start here there, Nick. A little bit of the East Coast bias showing. And then we get up to Quebec here for number 5. I had them at number 7, but I can see them being number 5. And then Kane County also 2 spots higher than I had them. He has them at number 6. Washington, let's see here. He has them at number 7. I had them way up at number 2. I know it's a hot take, but I believe in it. I don't know. I think they're a really good team. I watched a lot of Washington games this year. So, yeah, sorry. Beyond that, what else we got cooking here? Winnipeg at number 8. I had them at 5, but no big disagreement there. Then Cleburne at 9. I had them at number 9 as well. And then he goes Ottawa at 10. That's interesting to see. I had, so he did not have High Point, who I have at way up at number 4. I understand I'm making the playoffs and all that, but I just think High Point's a damn good team, man. Like, should have been in the Atlantic League playoffs. And if we're valuing the Atlantic League playoffs just this much, if we're going to value the Atlantic League playoffs that much, then they're in. I don't know what to tell you. I disagree with that. Just pretty flat out there. But, all right, let's check out then what our combined ranking is going to be here. I got it. I got to do a little bit of math here, but yeah, I really disagree with his Ottawa. Not putting High Point in, at least. Ottawa in top 10 is fine. But not putting High Point in feels pretty egregious. So let's see where this all pans out, however. Obviously, York's going to be our number 1 unanimously. So that will take a bit of the drama out of that one. Since we know who's going to be number 1, maybe I'll actually just go from top to bottom then. Since there's no building up to who's going to be number 1, you feel me? All right, so seeing what the math tells us, we are going to put York at number 1, Gastonia at number 2. We'll go Washington at number 3, Lancaster at 4, Charleston at 5, Quebec lands at 6, Winnipeg 7, got Kane County at number 8. We will put High Point at number 9. They will still get in. Cleburne then at 10, and the Ottawa Titans will be the last team receiving votes but not making it into the top 10. They fall out of the poll. I guess you can call them number 11 for the final poll of the year. So there are your top 10. Again, that's number 10 Cleburne, 9 High Point, 8 Kane County, 7 Winnipeg, 6 Quebec. You got 5 Charleston, 4th Lancaster, 3rd Washington, 2nd Gastonia, and 1st the York Revolution. I'm sure people have a lot of takes on that one. I'm sure Nick and I will have a discussion on the podcast. But there you go, the top 10. Final top 10 of the year. Quite a season for Indy Ball. Talked a little bit more about my thoughts just in general on just about any Indy Ball topic that we've been over this year. And a quick little episode I put up today on the YouTube channel, or yesterday probably at this point, now that you're watching it. So go check that out. All right, have a good one.
I may not have a lot, but I love what I got. A 4x4 and a good fishing spot. I hope this time my card won't decline.